Hi, and welcome back to Kluver Vibes. My name is Victoria, and you are about to see the 5 things that Steph and I have learned since being on a budget. All right, the number one thing that we learned was how much of our money was going to debt. So, when we first started our budget, we looked at all our payments that we were making, the minimums and a little bit of extra, and we calculated that $900 of our monthly income was going to debt. That is somebody's paycheck. That opened our eyes, and we got our stuff together to no longer have that happening. Now, the second thing that we learned is all right. The second thing we learned is that I'm the spender in the relationship. So, according to Dave Ramsey and his book, there is a spender in the relationship and there's a nerd in the relationship. So, I definitely knew from the get go that Seth was not necessarily a nerd, but he was a saver, and I definitely wasn't. When I first got my first paycheck, I went to the outlets and I bought myself like 2 pairs of shoes and an outfit, and like my whole $500 check was like gone. I think within the weekend. Like, that's like so bad now. And now the roles have changed, and I am definitely the nerd who loves to do the budget now. So it's honestly like I love doing the budget. It's super silly, but I truly enjoy it. So the next thing that we learned, number 3. All right, the third thing that we learned about being on a budget is we told our money where to go. So, since budgeting, we paid off our debt, our student loans, our credit cards, our car payment, and we gave our money purpose now. We tell our money where to go. No Capital One, no student loan, Nelnet, no Honda is telling us, hey, you made money, now you owe us money. No, no, no. Now we tell our money where we want it to go. Hey, is it going to go to saving for that van? Are you going to pay down the mortgage now? Or are you going to save a little extra for Christmas? What are you going to do with your money? And you now have the choice of what you want to do with your money. And I honestly, it's one of my favorite things that we have learned since being on a budget. It's what are we going to do with it? And we learned how to live below our means since paying off our debt. And honestly, we live a pretty good life and we enjoy it. And that's one of the best things that we have learned since being on a budget. Our next, number 4, will be coming right up. All right, the fourth thing that we learned since being on a budget is we have the possibility of paying off our house early. Now that our debt is paid off, we know that that money or whatever we have left over after paying our bills can go to whatever we want it to. So it could go to saving for our minivan, it could go to saving for our vacation, or it could go to paying off our mortgage. And how many people do you know have a paid off house? Like, not many. And that is one thing that we learned that now we have the possibility of doing just by being on a budget. And that has been like so cool to know that we have the possibility of doing that. And one of the quotes that I read while being on a budget is, don't be average and your life won't be average. Like, I love that. The reason I do is because, I mean, the average person has debt, and we didn't want to live that life anymore. So that pushed me through when we were struggling, and I knew like, hey, I want to pay this one off really like so much faster. How am I going to do it? I found things that I can sell around the house, and I just like kept telling myself, don't be average and your life won't be average. So that stuck with me, and that's one of the favorite quotes that I've learned, that we can be different and have a life without debt and potentially even have the opportunity to pay off our mortgage. And that excites me. And the last thing that we learned is, all right, so this might sound crazy to some of you guys, but when we were paying off our debt, we stopped our contributions to our retirement. Like, what? You're like, why? Like, that's how you're going to retire. But we knew that if we focused on paying off the debt, that we could contribute more to our retirement once we were done. So the step 5 that we learned about is retirement. Now that we have like all the miscellaneous, like the credit card, the student loans, the car payment, all paid off, ever since that has happened, and since we filled our emergency account with 6 months of expenses, we now contribute 15% of our income to retirement. Now, with that, our goal is to retire early, and that is something that we always wanted to do and we can't wait to do. So, if you haven't started your retirement, I highly recommend it. But also, just look at your debt journey, look at what you want to do in your financial journey. That's what I would recommend starting with. It's like, why do you want to change where you're at? And then go from there. And I am here to help you because honestly, it's changed our life and it excites me to talk about budget. And honestly, I just love what it's done for our family. Luke, now it's really cute. He knows like about budgeting. He has his own envelope, and that's one of my favorite things to see. So if you like this video, go ahead and like and subscribe it and come back next time for more.